Hey you guys, guess what? It's a Technique Tuesday, right? So we're going to get right into it. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this My Bestie stamp. And this stamp is actually called, let's see what she's called, Bestie, Barrel Girl, and Pup. So this is going to be fun. So I started out with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I cut it in half long ways. So I lined it up on 4 1/4 and cut the page in half where it's, you know, on the 8.5 side. And then I'm just scoring here, lining the cardstock up at 5.5, so that way I get my fold. And I love 8.5 by 11 for making cards, because either way you do it, whether you cut it in the middle where it's on the 5.5, or you do it at the 4 1/4, you get 2 cards per sheet, and it just makes it easy. Here I'm cutting the white paper that I'm going to be using for my coloring, and I'm also going to use the same page to cut down one of the pieces for the background of my pattern paper, which I'm using the Julie Nutting. Is it Nutting? Nutting? Julie Nutting. Let's see, Julie Nutting. And this paper pad is through Prima, and I'm trying to see if they have the name of it on here. Why can't anything ever have the name just like slap you in the face? But nothing. Well, I just picked a gingham or like a plaid from it, and I'm cutting it down. Now I left this in here because I went to cut this paper and it was like the paper was plastic or something, and my blade wouldn't go through. So I wound up having to switch out my blade, and when I did, it cut like butter. And I wasn't sure if I was going to use the flowers or the more plaid. So I just put it up there kind of to the side. I then grabbed my piercing mat and my clear block, the stamp itself, and I have a bunch of paper that I printed out a bunch of stuff on that. Instead of wasting the paper, I decided to cut it all down so I could use it for scrap, and that's what I have right there. And since I hadn't used the stamp before, you know what I always say, stamp it a few times before you stamp it on your actual project. So I figured what better way to kind of play around with colors with my markers and stuff than to stamp it on the scratch and then play with that. So one more time, and I can see that it's stamping a lot better. Now of course, if I have my Misty, but my Misty is tied up because I'm working on another video. So I had to go to the block. So I just wanted to make sure I was giving it good coverage and everything was covered. So once I lay down my stamp here and try to pull as straight up as I can, I set that to the side, because remember, I want to play with colors and figure things out. So once I picked out all my Spectrum Noirs and the few Copics that I'm going to use, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I do when I'm testing. So I laid down the lighter color, and it turns out I actually need a refill on this particular one, which is like my I think it's E15. I use this, no, E13. I probably use that more than I use any other browns on the Copics, because I like the biggest trick. I'm gonna kind of skip right here, but the reason why I like that one is because I like to cover whatever it is I'm getting ready to color with in that color first to get the paper saturated, and then when I go in to add my other browns or my other colors on top, because the page is already wet with that lighter brown, it sometimes blends better. You don't always have to do it that way, but it's just something that I like. Now I'm showing you here on the side, I'm testing out color combinations. If it looks like it's not blending right, or something, you know, you can still see the line of like the dark color, then I'm showing you here with the spectrums, you can do the same thing that I was doing that one time with my real brush markers, which is doing the tip to tip technique. I actually learned that technique by watching, I want to say it was Christina Warner and Jennifer McGuire on either their channel somewhere, but I saw them showing that technique with the Copic markers, and what I found is that if you use the Spectrum Noirs, they work very similar because they're both alcohol based. Okay, so if it's not blending right, take the lighter color, just tip it to the darker color, and then use the lighter color to blend. It doesn't mess up your markers, and you can get a better shade blend that way. Then the other way is obviously getting two colors that blend very well, right? You lay down the one, and then the light color just makes it smooth as butter. Okay, so to test it out, I laid down the light pink, and then I took the darker pink and I put lines and shade where it's actually drawn in the picture. That's the best thing about stamps. Most of the stamps that we have, they lay out a lot of times where shadows should go. And if you follow that line and the detailing in the stamp, then it'll make it, look that much better. You don't have to a lot of times guess. It's very simple. Or you can do like I did on the final project, and there were certain colors you just don't have to blend. But if you're doing enough saturation, I flipped the page over, you could see that the colors were coming through. Okay, so off to the side, I took our main piece and I colored it in on my own. I decided to leave the dog white, and all I did for him was just use a couple of grays to hit some of the shaded areas. Now for the grounding, I'm using, I think it's IG1 and IG2, and I put down the 2 first because I wanted it to be a little bit darker underneath the objects, and then I used the 1 to blend it out, to smooth it out, okay? And I decided to go with the Crazy Talk Sentiments from Tim Holtz, which I got from the boutique a long time ago. I don't think we have it there anymore. But it was a really great set, and everyone loves the Tim Holtz stamps. So we're just going to stamp right here at the bottom, thinking of you. And really and truly, I feel like that's enough. And her hair, I left plain. Sometimes I color it in, sometimes I don't. I like the sketchiness of it, and I think it's just super cute. So I'm going to go off camera and finish up the card, and then you'll see the final product. So here it is, with a ribbon, the pattern paper in the background, and then obviously the focal image that we just colored in on top. And I took a white gel pen to do all the white highlights that you see in her hair and anywhere else. So thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Please share, and I look forward to seeing you guys with our next video.